makes you happy. Some days you wanna when happy it's we when man it's them. It's the same place, Murali End. Sri Lanka cricket we go represent. So tell a friend.
Welcome to Murali End. We're joining you moments after Sri Lanka lost the Tri-Series final to Pakistan. My name's Mark Machado. I'm joined by my cousin, Dominic Machado. I'm in London. Dominic's the professor of cricketology in Boston, USA. He's just been eating turkey and Sri Lanka in a moment when, let's be honest, there's a lot going on in the actual island of Sri Lanka at a moment when maybe Sri Lanka, the fans wanted a performance. Sri Lanka kind of failed to deliver today, Dom, hey?
Yeah. It looked like, you mentioned me eating turkey, but it seemed like Sri Lanka were the ones walking through that match, but as you said, Mark, there are more important things going on in the moment. As many of you know, floods have deeply affected the island with a significant loss of life, significant loss of power, people's homes, injuries, all of that stuff. So all of our loves and prayers going out to the people on the island. And Mark, you might want to say about what we're hoping to do to get some momentum and support for everyone over in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, we've got family there as we speak. My father's in Sri Lanka as we speak. The kind of situation is ongoing. At some point, I'm trying to put together a kind of page for donations. We're trying to figure out who to send the money to. Obviously all want to help as many people as possible. So we'll set up a page for donations. I'm also looking to try and set up a kind of silent auction type thing. So if there's any prizes or things that people might want to be interested, whether it be kind of signed books, if you get signed shirts, signed bats, it doesn't have to be cricket related. I'm going to try and spread this across our network and get it as wide as possible to try and raise as much funds as possible. So please do keep an eye on our social media and in the WhatsApp channel and stuff like that to see what we're up to and what we're trying to do and how you can help as much as possible. I think we can. Obviously, I think we talk about this all the time on this channel. The nature of being Sri Lankan in our lifetimes has been kind of lurch from crisis to crisis to crisis. Right. Thankfully, this one, I say thankfully, at least this one is a natural disaster, not a kind of man-made one, right? Dominic, let's get to the cricket, though. Sorry, Sanuda's just called me Baby Mark because I'm fully shaved. Let's get to the cricket, Dom. Very, very bad day for Sri Lanka cricket-wise, right?
Yeah. The sad thing is I feel like we're not really learning anything.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is that there's an extraordinarily fragile middle order. If one of the top three don't go on and get a big score, then we're basically cooked. So I don't know what it is. I think the selection is wrong. We're picking guys who can't play spin to come in the middle overs. And that is just, it doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense what we're doing. It's a real struggle. But I think one of the things that Sanath and co need to take away from this is that's just how our team is built. There's no magic fixes. There's no plasters. We've tried just about everybody in the middle order that we possibly can. We have to rely on the top three to go big. And we've got to rely on our bowling attack to restrict oppositions, right? That's just what we know at this point. And I think you might then go on and think, okay, whether we play 7, 8, 9 batters, it's not having a positive impact on our score. So I'd like to see those middle order options be people who can bowl so that we just have as much bowling variety as possible. This is where someone like a Dunith Willalage would have been extremely useful, even a Chartha Salanka. And so if we're thinking, and I'm not thinking long-term, obviously long-term, we need to cultivate power hitters who can score in the middle overs at a quick rate, right? We're 86 for 1 and in about 10 overs, and to slump for 114, that's just not acceptable. And it was kind of an interesting thing because I thought Kusal Mendis's innings kind of encapsulated the struggles that our teams have, right, is that okay, we got to a good score early on. We got to a score of 86 in the first power play, and then and he's ticking along 14 from 17, no boundaries. He's turning over the spinners, but then as soon as he goes for a big shot, everything crumbles. And so the expectation kind of has to be that you have to score, that he has to score a lot of runs and score the boundaries. And that's just not a good way to win, right? It seemed like it was an appropriate time to press the pedal. They're in the 10th over. They kind of want to push for a bigger score, but they weren't able to do that. And so that was frustrating to me. It's like you have someone who's clearly capable of anchoring the innings, but isn't allowed to because you have to provide both the impetus and do the anchoring in order to be successful.
I mean, you look at that scorecard. I'll just read the scores out: 11, 59, 14, 8, and that now it almost becomes binary code. 1, 2, okay, 2's not binary. 0, 5, 0, 1, 0. I mean, it's just an unbelievable scorecard for a team that we all think has the ability and should be challenging for kind of major trophies, and they've turned up, and this is what they've done. To lose, 98 for 3 becomes 114 all out. It's 84 for 2 becomes 114 all out. It's unbelievable. Asan, I'm sure is going to come on when we open up the studio in a little bit. It said our middle order scores are like a helpline number for our batting woes. Absolutely. I mean, I keep saying we're playing with a false middle over here.
Yeah.
Right. It's the new kind of drunken tactic where it's like you think we've got middle over batters. Actually, we don't.
Actually, we don't. And guess what? We're sneaking in Pawan Ratnayaka as a bowler.
Yeah, Pavan Ratnayaka bowling, Kamal Mishra bowling, because I mean the poor guys have absolutely nothing to bowl at. I just like it's for me, it's about the standards and the culture in the side.
Yeah.
I think the standards and the culture are wrong when it comes to who's in the squad. I mean, the idea that you're just getting called up like because you've played well for the American side, in a whole different part of the world.
And
2 days ago, it's just, to me, it's just nuts.
That's just poor practice, right? And then like I was looking at Pawan Ratnayaka's stats. They had them up. His T20 career, he averages 12. He's never scored a 50, right? And he's the guy who's supposed to be batting 7 in our squad. Like it just doesn't make any sense. And so I think there's I'm of two minds. Obviously, this middle order needs to be blown up and they need to bring in all the parts, right? In as much as people have critiqued Charith for his bad form, well, it's not hard to be in bad form when what's going on around you is that you eventually become what's around you, right? Of course he's struggling. He can't be a one-man band carrying this middle order all the time. He's going to struggle at some point. And I think you've got to think about how, so I like the two minds I'm in is one, how do we prepare for the 2026 World Cup that's happening in a few months, right? And then you're also building for the long term. So I think in the short term, you say, okay, we want as many bowling options as we can who can bat a little bit, right? So I think for this side, Adunath Walalage, Milan Ratnayaka are guys who could potentially be useful in spots, right? Because like you can't be turning to Pawan Ratnayaka and say like bowl 2 overs for me. Can't be turning to Kamil Mishara and saying that. So it's really frustrating.
I'm right in saying I think I checked this during the thing. Pavan Ratnayaka never bowled an over in any sort of decent level of T20 cricket till he's throwing the ball today. And I know he did well. I know he got wickets, right? But I mean that is just not a kind of plan, is it?
Yeah, that's not exactly. And like they came out, they looked good, and then you can't realistically expect your top order to get you better than 86 for 2 in about 10.4 overs in this pitch, right? Like that's a reasonable expectation, right? So, and then to not be able to do anything, to have no one who could, they look totally at sea. And it'd be one thing if we were saying these are totally new bowlers they have never seen before, but they've seen all of these guys. They've spent the last month there, right? How many times have they played Saeem Ayub? How many times have they played Abrar? How many times have they played Mohammad Nawaz? Right? Figure it out. You just, at some point, you've just got to figure it out. Like, the chopping and changing doesn't help, but if you're not capable of doing it, you can't.
Are they getting better? Are we seeing improvement? That's like, look, I'm not expecting players to come in. I'm not expecting Pavan Ratnayake to come in and be fully formed and be a top T20 player from his, from the moment he arrives in a Sri Lanka shirt, right? But are we seeing improvement? I'm going to pick a player. Is Wadadu Hasaranga, is he better today than he was a year ago? Is he better today than he was going into the last World Cup? Has Dustin Sharnaker improved as a player? What is Kusal Janath Pereira? How frequently is he scoring runs? Who's he scoring runs against? How is he scoring these runs? Are these players improving? Right. It's interesting. I thought at the end of the broadcast, you heard Russell Arnold talked about Kamindu Mendes is out of form and that's why he's not in the team. Right. What are they? Pardon?
Who is in form?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, who's informed that so desperately informed that they need to drop him, and who is what are they doing to get back into form? Like, what is the plan here?
Yeah.
What is the solution here? Is it just that you just send him away and we hope whatever he does that he either finds form himself with his own kind of personal training? I don't know what he does personally, or is there an actual structure underneath to get him back into form?
Right. And exactly, right? Like, if you look at other international squads, actually, basically they have a similar structure where you have a top three who bats and expect most of your runs for. You have your bowlers, and then you have the middle order who either is a mix of bowlers who could hit or guys who can just smash it from ball one. Right now we have nothing. We have, guys who are no different. And that's a big issue. That's a big problem. And I think you've got to pick what your lane is with that middle order, understanding that it's not going to perform. You can't, it's stupidity to say, hey, we're going to expect the middle order to be successful, because it hasn't. It hasn't been successful for 3 years. So then the question becomes, we know this is our weakness. How do we defray the weakness? Right. And that could be amping up the bowling. That could be, selecting a different type of player who doesn't play the same style.
I'm just going to suggest, right? I like this comment that's come in from Miranda, who said, we still don't have a settled core of players, right? I absolutely agree with this. And I think this is the crux of the problem, right? We don't have a settled core of players. It means that players, we also are really trigger happy with our 11. So it means if you have 2 or 3 good games, you're not just like dropped from the 11. You're out the squad. You're like set adrift. You're in a gap year in playing grade cricket in Melbourne or whatever, right? And I think that just sets such a bad precedent, because it means players are thinking about it when they're standing at the crease. They've got to be, right.
Yeah.
There's too much changing in every given moment during this series. Right, this T20 tournament was 2 weeks. We've seen us change kind of configurations.
Yep.
We've seen players be selected for this tour come in and play one game and then
be dropped. Right.
And then be dropped. We've seen players before it all started, we saw our captain get sent home. And we've seen players who aren't anywhere near this squad to begin with be called up because they've had good performances in the emerging side. I'm not saying those players don't have shouldn't play for Sri Lanka. I think one of the stories of Sri Lankan cricket at this moment in time is Veerskamp playing for Sri Lanka, right? I think that's a great story. Right. However, you can't just bring them in, throw them in, hope for the best. Go, it's not worked. Let's try something else. It's basically like the way Sri Lankan cricket is currently being run is it's like we're kids at nursery sitting around a box of Lego going, there's this fit into this. Like we're building a rocket to take us to the stars. We don't really know what it's going to look like or how it's going to work. But there's this brick fit on top of this. Oh, it doesn't work. Throw it away. Get another brick. Oh, that brick fits. Right, we want to put another brick. Oh, we put another brick, but the brick 3 bricks below it doesn't work now. Let's throw it away. Like, it's just so deeply frustrating when we can see that we've got the players and we can see that we've got the talent and we're just letting ourselves down at this point.
Yep. And I think that's the thing is that the chopping and changing, right? And then thing that I find interesting. So there's 2 points here with the chopping and changing. So you bring in someone like Bonica, right? That's a totally, and I'm going to steal Asen's words here. It is a reactive move. It's not a prospective move. It's a reactive move. Who can come in, right? And then these guys come in the middle orders, and these are guys who are not spin hitters, and they're being told to hit spin, right? And I get that the middle overs are places where you're supposed to hit spin, but we're asking guys who can't do it to do it, and then when they get out, we say, oh well, that's our problem. That's the problem. These guys are getting out to spin. It's not that. It's they're being put in positions where they're inevitably going to fail, right? And if we actually had the players to fit that role, sure, we could, and they failed, then we could judge them. But if we don't have the players to fit that role and we're just throwing square pegs at round holes continually in every sort of format, it's not about the players at that point. It's not about the players.
What I want to know, because I think we're going to open up the studio if you guys come and join us. What I want to know is we've got now, let's count it, 8 weeks till the start of the World Cup? Is it 8 weeks or 7 weeks?
So February, probably 8. Probably.
Oh, no. Maybe it's 10 weeks, actually, because it's December, January, and then it actually starts in the first week of February. So there's about 10 weeks between now and the start of this World Cup.
So we have some time.
We have some time. There's a little bit of time.
We say.
England are coming. I think the first game in that series is the 21st of
well, we're going to see, I'm telling you, we're going to see chalk and cheese in terms of approaches to white ball cricket there.
Yeah, well, I don't know
that it doesn't that it works on both ends. I think both fail at the approaches they're trying. I'm not pretending like England is a world beating squad, but
I say also I don't know what mental state England will be in if they get battered through the rest of the Ashes, because it is Brendan McCullum's who will be in charge of the white ball team as well, right?
Yeah.
So it might be quite a psychologically blown up England team. We kind of got to wait and see for it. What I want to know is, right, we're going to open the studio up. We'll take a quick break. We'll open the studio up. What I want to know is, what would you do if you were in charge of Sri Lanka cricket? If you woke up tomorrow morning and you were Sanat Jayasuriya, what would you do to get this team ready for the next 10 weeks? That's the question we're looking to ask. I'm going to put the link in the comment section. Dominic may have to go off. I'm not sure. We will play the ad, and then when I come back, you guys can come and tell us what we're going to do. He says he's going to play the ad. Right, I'm going to play the ad. Subscribe to Football Smash. See you in a moment. Hi everyone, this is West Ham Park, where the first ever FA Cup goal was scored. I wanted to come out here and tell you guys about Football Smash, my other channel, which is about football, or as Dominic calls it, soccer. There's loads of great content on there from actual football experts like Tim Vickery, Dotun Adebayo, Adrian Goldberg, Charlie Methan, and a host of other former players and managers you've probably heard of. So please, if you're into football or soccer, hit subscribe. Thanks everyone. Right, let me take this off. And Arsene, how's it going, bro? Thank you for joining us today. What's your thoughts after that game?
Absolute spineless performance, pathetic performance. I think the worst performance I've seen probably the past year. Seriously, what the fuck was that? I'm sorry, I swear. Yeah, like it was just a disgusting performance, man, to be honest. 98 for 3 to being 114 all out, and the dismissals as well was pathetic. Okay, fine. The spinners bowled quite well, and also credit to Pakistan as well. I think you're looking at a Pakistan team that's starting to develop and really find their own core. You look at some of the players, not even from just the Pakistan team. You also look at the emerging side as well. They've got some really good players as well. Ty Mayu played really well, bowled really well. Shaheen Shah Afridi, Nawaz bowled really well. But look, Sri Lanka, I think it's just we've been talking about the same bloody point for the past 3 years now, which is our middle order, our false middle order, like you say. And going back to your question earlier before the ad as well, if I was in charge of Sri Lankan cricket, what I will do is completely overhaul it, and actually start again from scratch. I would implement a 10-year project with Sri
No,
Lankan
no, no,
cricket.
no. I'm saying, what I want to know is what you do
Mhm.
between now and the start of the World Cup in February. You got 10 weeks.
I mean,
How
there
you
isn't
train
really
for
much
it?
that you can do between now until the World Cup. I don't think there's going to be any progress made between now and then. Okay, fine. We have some of the players as well that are able to perform, but I just don't think there's anything that we can really do. We've brought in some really good players as well, but they haven't really been given a chance. Viascant was given one match and then told to leave. Like, why? Just back the guy. If you're going to bring in a player, but back him. You can't just hand him his debut and then make him wait again. Um, so honestly, what I would do is I would change the selection lineup. I think Shanaka needs to be dropped. I've said this so many times as well. Yet again, another toothless performance by him. Banak Rajapaksha needs to be gone. I know I've supported him before in the past. He needs to go. KJP needs to go as well. Right. So I think these are three of the players that really need to be dismissed. But who would you bring in as well? Miran Ratnaika maybe. To fill in Shanaka's boots. Um, who else? Dunit Valalage, Dilshan Madhushankar, Chamindo Vikramasinghe. Like these are some players that you could probably experiment during the England series as well and give them a go. Even Viascant as well. He needs to be backed. The bloke, you can't just give the guy one match and then expect him and then drop him and then and then just stick with the usual suspects. Like I can't even I don't even have the words to describe how I'm feeling because I'm so annoyed by that performance. It was such a disgusting performance, honestly.
I'll tell you what I would do. So, firstly, I think Sri Lanka is going through a difficult time right now, bro. I'm just going to mute you,
Yeah.
just because I'm getting
Mhm.
feedback. So I'll mute you, but I'll mute you when you come back. Hold on. So Sri Lanka's going through a difficult time right now. I think the first thing I would try and do is win over some hearts and minds with this cricket team, right? Figure out who's going to be captain, whether it's Charith or Dustin. I have no idea why they've decided this point is the time to change our captaincy. The thing that annoys me the most about it as well is that it is such a kind of stereotype for Sri Lankan cricket that we just constantly chop and change our captains, right? No other country in the world does it like we do at the moment, right? I joke about it all the time, but it's like it shouldn't be a joke. We need to take, like, on one hand, people, senior people in around SLC, the uncles want us to take being a captain and the captaincy seriously, but on the flip side of it, it's they're chopping and changing it all the time. I'm not having to go at Dustin here, and I'm not having to go at Charith here. It's the people above them who are whoever's making these decisions. They're the people who are creating this instability, right? Let's discover who. Let's work out who we want to be captain for that series, right? And then back him, and then make sure that person is front and center of everything SLC do for the next few weeks while we're trying to put the country back together after the floods, right? Let's go back and win hearts and minds. I want to see them in every part of the country, lifting sandbags, playing with the children, going out and spreading the joy that this cricket team has the ability to bring, right? Then the other thing I think they need to be doing is they need to figure out who the 25 most likely names are to be in that squad. We know, look, we're Sri Lanka. We know that squad is coming out at the last possible moment. We know we're probably likely I'm prepared. I'm mentally prepared for that squad to arrive in my email inbox like minutes before the first game arrives, right? We'll probably get an 11 before we get what the actual squad that's going to the World Cup is. But they need to figure out who the 2025 players who are most likely to be in there and go, right, you are the players that we're taking. There's 10 weeks in. Unless somebody starts, goes off to some franchise tournament and hits 300 in a game or 150 in a game, we ain't considering them, right? You are the guys we're backing. You are the guys who are going to bring this tournament home for us. Well, it's a home tournament. It's for you. That means they're going to have to make some hard decisions about which bowlers are in the squad. They've got to sit down and do the work, and they cannot take a step back from that, right? I'm not saying I would have him in the squad. I'm not saying I wouldn't have him in the squad. I'm just saying if they're backing KJP, if they're backing Dustin Shanaka, if they're saying Dustin Shanaka's the captain, KJP's in the squad, just go and tell them in the squad and just go, right, we need to do everything we possibly can for you boys to make sure that you are in good form come the beginning of February, right? all this indecision around the side isn't helping anyone. This idea that you're going to drop players in randomly and Viscount's going to be plucked across from Dubai, wherever that tournament was, brought to Pakistan, made his debut, and he's going to go and get enough, go and do something so spectacular, you're never going to drop him again. It's just pie in the sky stuff, right? That just never happens. Okay. At some point, with cricket, in cricket, the way this sport works is, at some point, people you think are match winners or people who have won you matches are in good form, their form will fall away. And instead of getting 30 runs that game, they'll get 5 runs that game. Instead of getting 3 wickets that game, they won't get any wickets that game. And that's fine. That's the way the game works. We cannot be so antiquated in the way that we're running our team that we're basically we're picking 11 match winners. You guys go out and figure out how we're going to win the match. We need to also be working with data analysts, looking at the data and going, right, we've got Australia. How do we beat them? We've got Oman. How do we beat them? We've got Zimbabwe. How do we beat them? How do we beat Ireland? Are we doing that work? Are we able to reverse engineer it so that we've got the best squad possible that can go and cause those 4 sides as many problems as possible? And then, because the absolute minimum for me is absolute minimum, and I think that's where we're looking at now. We're looking at absolute minimums. We're not even looking at how do we get to a final? How do we win this thing? For me, the absolute minimum is, are we going to get out of this group? Because the way we are playing right now, Ireland and Zimbabwe will be looking at this and going, we can beat them. Ireland are in Bangladesh as we speak, scoring 170 runs today? 170 runs? I'd say Sri Lanka scoring 170 runs in a pitch in Bangladesh at this moment, I'd be ecstatic about that. Yet we're playing I just don't know where we're at with this. So I think there's a real serious risk of Sri Lanka not making that into that Super 8 part of the tournament. And I think, considering it's a home World Cup, that is totally embarrassing for us. That's what I would do for the next few weeks to try and get us to it. What do you think?
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you as well, because you kind of look at some of the groups as well in the upcoming World Cup. Let's pick up a few nations. Australia, us, Oman and Ireland. And Ireland, I was actually in between the innings. I was kind of looking at Ireland match as well. They've got a really good squad. You find results didn't really go their way today, but they won the first T20 match and they were really emphatic. And they didn't even have some of the star players as well. But I mean, I looked at the Ireland squad. I was like, you know what? This team could actually cause us problems. And the thing is, how can you expect stability when you're constantly chopping and changing all the time? How can you expect progress? I think what Sri Lanka need to do now is, okay, forget the World Cup, because I think it's going to be a torrid World Cup. But in order for us to build for the future, in order for us to build for the next 10 years, the next 15 years, there's quite a few things that needs to happen. I think the board needs to completely go and get reorganized. I think we need new people on the board itself. Sanath, I'm not sure yet. I think I'll give it to him until the World Cup. If he failed to qualify for the Super 8 in that World Cup, he needs to go, right? Um, what I would do as well, and I mentioned this earlier as well, like in one of the first videos that I appeared on the show, we need to change our domestic structure. We need to reconnect with our fans, because I think there's like a bridge, there's a gap between our fans and the team. And I don't think we can kind of relate to the team like we did 20 years ago when we had Sangas, Mahelas, Malingas, Muralis, all of that. That needs to change as well. But if you're going to select players, back in. If you if you're not going to select players, prove like why you didn't select them. That's what Sri Lanka needs to do now, right? And if once you actually implement a project, right, stick with it for the next 5 years. Look, I'm an Anderlecht supporter, right? When Vincent Company first came into the job in 2019, he had a project, a 2020 to 2025 project, right? And he was talking about all the different things that he was going to change within Anderlecht. And there was actually progress made. He took the team that was languishing, what in where were they? Like in middle of the table, and he brought them to the top 4, right? But you could see progress that was made in that team. Same with Arsenal as well. Under Arteta, when he first came, you look at the team, look at the players that he had, and you look at the team now, right? You need to have a project. You need to have a playing style that people need to identify with. You can't constantly switch between a 6-5 and a 7-4, right? And constantly selecting players as well that okay had a decent series in the emerging team or in the A team, and then suddenly just drafted into the national team. Like you even saw the reverse of that as well with Pramod Madhushan, right? He was initially selected for the was it the Tri Series or was it the 50 over series before, and then
The
after that
ODIs, yeah.
into the emerging side. So I don't know what the selection process is. I think it's every decision that we make is a panic decision, and when that happens as well, we expect these players just to perform, which I'm sorry is not the case. But yeah, like that's what I've got to say. I think, to be honest, it doesn't matter what we have, what project we have leading up to the World Cup. We're not going to do it. I like that's my gut feeling is we're not going to do it. I think we're going to panic and we're going to exit during the group stages. Because look, we've been skittled against Zimbabwe twice for under 100 runs in the space of 2 months. That's inexcusable. And you look at the toothless performance they put out against Pakistan, right? Absolutely shambolic. Ruined my weekend. Absolutely ruined my weekend. And probably ruined everyone else's weekend. And in general, for Sri Lankans, it's been a crap week so far. And we have to put up with this shit as well.
Arsene, before I let you go, I just got one question. How do you support? How have you ended up supporting Anderlecht? Are you from Belgium?
Now, I used to live there before,
Oh,
and
cool.
that's where I kind of like picked up my love for football. So it was actually when I was there. It was during the 2014 World Cup. So it was the first time Belgium qualified in like 12 years, and yeah, I just started watching them because my dad was invited for a dinner over there, by one of his friends who works there, and then they gave him a jersey, and then I didn't really think much of it, but when I moved to England for my university, I was kind of homesick. It's a really weird story. So I just started watching like when I mean homesick, I was missing Belgium. So I just started watching and like just to see how they were doing, and I really liked them as a team. So I just kept watching them, and then like fast forward 11, 12 years, I'm a fan now. And life sucks being a Sri Lankan and Anderlecht fan, man. It bloody sucks.
Oh man, if I ran Sri Lankan football, I would try and buy a Belgian football club because it's really easy to get
I
foreign
would.
players into the
I thought
Belgian
about
league.
like if I had
Yeah,
$1 billion, the first thing I would do is buy the club and then probably try to do something within Sri Lanka as well. Like at least
yeah.
with Sri Lanka football or cricket.
Yeah,
But
that'd be amazing. Anyway, bro, for football chat, we need to go to Football Smash. I'll let you go.
no
Thank you
worries.
for coming on today. Shabney, I'll bring you on. Kaluna, I'm going to bring you on as well. Let's the three of us chat. Shabney, I'll come to you first, though. I mean, I'm guessing. Firstly, I hope everyone family's all right in Sri Lanka. And you know, obviously, if you missed the beginning of the show, then we're trying to do something to be able to kind of get everyone to donate and raise funds and help and all that.
Oh, check out my Instagram.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
actually, I was with my kids at their school. They're doing a donation run. So I was like watching the match sparingly. Yeah, so if anyone can help, it'll be good.
yeah, definitely. Check out Chablet's Instagram. Was your birthday last week as well? Happy birthday.
Oh no, man! It was a pre-birthday surprise.
Ah,
Wife. Well, birthday is next week.
yeah. Right. Anyway, Colin, how are you doing, bro?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone. And as you said, thoughts and prayers with all the folks back in Sri Lanka, right? So that's, I think, front and center of our mind. So hopefully it goes away soon.
Yeah, hopefully we get through yet another crisis. Right, Shabna, you can go first. What's your thoughts on today's game, and what do you think we should be doing for over the next 10 weeks to prepare for this World Cup?
We never arrived for the game from ball one. It looked quite lackluster. Probably might had to do some with something that was going on here, but it's not a surprise, right? When you see a performance like this, when you look at the last year or so, getting bundled out for less than 50 twice with Zimbabwe, and then when you see something like this, it's not surprising. I heard when you were talking about the analytics part of the game. I honestly don't think there's an issue with that. I think we do have a good analytics team, but the problem is the execution. Probably is where I see the issue is. Um, these guys are good. My biggest issue with our batsmen is their shot selection. It's not something you can teach them. It's something that comes with experience. Most of these guys who played today has had sufficient international exposure, and they know what they're doing. But it's sad to see where, I mean, some of the strokes that we play sometimes are like, what were they even thinking? So I honestly don't know where it comes from. We are not a country that just started playing cricket a couple of years ago. We've been playing for ages. 96 was our turnaround time. We built our entire backbone based on that. And we developed to a very, very good team in the early 2010s, right? We were the team to beat. So what happened all of a sudden? And I don't think that it was just because Mahela and Sangha and Murali left. If the system was set up and we had a good bench strength, it's the execution part of it. So quite rightly, the way you said, the management is something that we will need to look at, not just the immediate team management. We're talking about the board itself. What are their strategies? Why are we failing so much? The chopping and changing of the coaching staff, those are points of major frustration for players, because you got to learn again from start working with a new coach, right? Regardless of that person being a foreign national or a Sri Lankan, right? You got to get used to that management style. And I think Sri Lanka and Pakistan are the two teams that have had the most coach turnarounds in the last 10 years in cricket.
Yeah, eventually you'll get a go, right? We'll all get a go. Like,
yeah, seriously.
yeah.
You should definitely get a go.
No, I don't want to have a go. I don't want to have a go at it. Oh my gosh! Imagine your LinkedIn updates. Your LinkedIn, Sri Lanka cricket head coach failure, 6 months. Like, oh my gosh! No, not for me. Kulinu, how are you?
Yeah, and I think there is way too much red tape as well. Too much control.
Kulinu, how are you feeling about today?
I mean, less this said the better, because we've analyzed this kind of this is kind of something that we expected to happen, right? We lost 2 games, then we can predict that the team will make a comeback, because we've seen that, okay, backs against the wall, kind of pride or ego hurt a little bit, and then it'll come back. And now once we reach the final, seems to be like, okay, it was the kind of expected result that Sri Lanka and Pakistan are in the final. So seems to me like from the outside, I don't know, maybe it's critical to think of the team this way, but they've let go of that intensity a little bit. Okay, we are in the final, and suddenly the sort of the fight has evaporated, because we saw this a mile away. At least I thought, I had this sort of sinking feeling that today was going to be bad, although we are so close to a World Cup. So I'm sure pretty much everyone else also half a heart thought that, although we wanted us to win. So why is this happening continuously? And maybe it's not a surprise to the players and the coaches and the management, the board, whoever it is, because they know that this is the performance, this is the kind of performance that we throw up, right? So the question that you asked, what can we do? I know we've been talking about the coach has to take accountability until the end of the World Cup. I agree with that as well. Then so is the players. So I think let's not make random changes where like a person who hasn't been there in the squad for 3 years is coming back in just for the England series. Let's not do that. It's my sort of opinion. Let's stick with the players. And I think the most short-term thing that they could do is really look at the group of our World Cup, look at the venues that we're playing in, the days, the conditions, and really plan for them and then try and execute. I mean, this is just simple stuff. I mean, I'm not saying anything revolutionary. Neither any of us are saying anything revolutionary, right? Just have a simple plan, stick to it, and get the execution right. Because how can we get at least 150, 160 runs for a decent bowling attack to have a go? I mean, if not, we are not in the game. Like, we were just playing the game today so that Pakistan could get to the target. There was no game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so the second innings was just for us to be turning up in the field and turn the arm over so that they could get to 115. I mean, I know we tried. I mean, there were part-time bowlers bowling, suddenly getting all sorts of wickets, but that is like sort of a warped analysis, right? We can't read the game, anything. I mean, unless or until you put up a decent score, you are not getting anywhere in the World Cup, right? So I guess that's the only thing we can do.
I think the frustrating thing for me is, right, if you look at with 2 wins now in last 10 T20s, right, and you look at it, the wins only come when 1, 2, or 3 players put their hands up and put performance in, right? The other day, Chamira basically bailed us out, right? Day before that, against Zimbabwe, I can't even remember who it was, but it's 1 or 2 players. It's impossible. Like today, actually, the top 3 kind of set us up really well, right? Easily, if we should have easily have got to, even if we got to 140 today, I think we would have had a real game in our hands, because I think it was a difficult pitch to score runs on, right? And we had the bowlers who could have caused them problems if they needed to try and score runs quickly or score runs at any sort of pace, right? And we just weren't able to do that. I think there is an issue with, the thing that people say is Sri Lankan batters, middle order, struggle to play spin. I think actually as well, we struggle to play really good quality seam bowling. We just struggle to play good quality bowling, be it if it's coming to you slowly or if it's coming to you fast or whichever way it's turning, right? I think that needs to kind of be addressed, because I'm a little bit worried. Maybe we're just only producing middle order players that can only smack it if the person bowling is slightly off their game. And actually, you look at it, like Shaheen Shah Afridi is not in particularly great form at the moment, right? The best team for him to play against is Sri Lanka. He's going to find form. Baba, right? Everyone loves him in Pakistan. He hasn't scored a century in ages. He gets a century against us last week, right? Because when a player comes in, and if they've got quality, and if they start to show it early on, we absolutely crumble, be it with the bat or be it with the ball, right? And I think that, for me, reflects more on the kind of mentality that we're taking into the game and how the players feel about it, right? Because I think it's gone from, I keep thinking about the West Indian comments when they came over when they were in SL was that about 18 months ago when they were in SL and they were complaining about the pitches, and the Sri Lankan response was, we just need to win. We just need to get a win. And actually now, I think at this point, 10 weeks out from a World Cup, we're on this road to this World Cup, and I'm like, that was the bad foundations that were being laid, because actually it wasn't about winning a T20 game in September, a year and a bit ago. It's making sure you win that first game in Colombo in February, right? That is the most important thing. And now, because we sacrificed and created a paddy field that only we can play on, we've sacrificed the ability to be able to play quality bowling on real pitches, right? So now our team is totally undercooked for this. And I kind of feel the reflection of that is that it went from, we need to just win today, to translating the players turning up on the pitch, just going, I need to just do enough to stay in this 11. I need to just do enough to stay in the side, and that's where we're at now. And I think that's when it's a disaster for all of us.
Yeah. Just sorry, quickly, Mark. So I think even that doesn't add up, right? If we played on turning tracks back home, that should have been enough practice for today at least. Today's pitch was turning a little more. At least Saim, Ayub, and everyone else was turning. So if that was the case and we played on paddy fields and turning tracks, and which means we should have good enough practice to play against spin bowlers or spinning wickets, today we should have gotten to a score. So that hasn't worked out either. So that really sort of baffles me as well, because not even today wasn't the best pitch in the tournament. And the second thing is like, why are you just playing to stay in the side? Don't you have more hunger to sort of put up a performance and go deep in a World Cup? And lastly, I would say is that teams will spend least amount of time planning against Sri Lanka, because our batting innings will take care of ourselves. So it'll be like, okay, Sri Lanka, they will just once maybe Pathum Nissanka or Kamil Mishra will get off to a good start. Even if they do, we just have to just bowl at them after the power play, and they'll just capitulate. That's what the planning conversations will be like.
Yeah.
I think it's make sure that Sri Lanka loses the toss and they don't bat second. As long as you put them into bat first, they have been quite bad at setting up totals over the last, I would say, 18 to 24 months. They've been quite bad at setting up totals. They don't seem. It's not that they're not reading the pitches. They seem to be reading the pitches, but they get lost in terms of a target or resetting themselves when a small hiccup happens, or when you don't reassess situations and figure out, okay, this is where we are now. This is far-fetched. Let's not crumble. Let's get to this now, right? 140 instead of 160 should be our target now. That they just keep going and going and going, and I just don't understand where that mentality comes from. Because I mean, I think I said it last time, right? That it's not like we needed Sanath as a coach. We need Sanath as a man manager. He has to manage, his ability to manage the people, his ability to get the most out of each and every different player and each and every different role that is required. That's his capability. And we know that he's capable of. He was a great captain when he captained. And he led from the front, right? So he knows what it takes. He knows what is involved, what his involvement is as well. So like I said earlier, Mark, I mean, shot selection is one of the biggest issues. I don't think we have issues with playing spinners. Just like Kalana said, right? It's then today's pitch should have been the pitch for us to win this game. It's not the pitch, it's not the country, it's the shot selections that these guys. I mean, it's all of a sudden like they all of a sudden have a brain fade. Someone who's going guns nicely. The only person right now in this team that I have the confidence after a start that would go on right now is Pathum.
Yeah.
I honestly do not think, I don't have the confidence. Not that I don't think. I do think that everyone is capable in that batting lineup. But the confidence is only with Pathum. Once you get a start to kick on.
I absolutely agree with that. I'm nervous about him though, right? Because
it's too much pressure on him now.
It's way too much now.
Way too much, and it will weigh on him, right? He's still young, and if we are as a country to protect this guy, right, we need to give him that proper support around him. His opening partner, number 3, 4, should protect him. And that's not happening right now. If he fails, everyone's like, oh, shoot, what's going to happen now?
So what I will say is, I know he's slowly becoming the player that most Sri Lankans love to hate. I thought Kusal Mendis's kind of innings today was kind of extraordinary in terms of Camel was finding the boundary at will, looked $1 million, and Kusal was happy to just kind of anchor the other side, which I hadn't seen much of, particularly normally where if he's not batting with Pathum, then he's like, right, I've got to accelerate this innings. I know it kind of didn't work out for him. People will look back at this and go, oh, he only got 14 off 18. But I think there's looking at that, you kind of lose the
Yeah,
context.
his thought process was right.
His
Thought process was right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was good.
someone had to be with Kamil, and he played the second fiddle. Being the senior person, he was ready to take a step back and give him the strike. There's nothing wrong with it. Had Kamil fallen earlier, he would have picked his game up and taken over that mantle, and that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And once Kamil went, I mean, we basically played a test match.
Oh, I mean, some of these players are at serious risk of starting for England in the Ashes the way they were playing, right? I mean, Dustin and Wani, like what, like, and I've been I've defended Lianage a lot on this channel and was like, look, we know what he can do. He kind of doesn't let us down. Today, sadly, it kind of didn't work for him. I hate laying into the players, right? Because I want to love them all dearly, and I think they go out with good intent, but we've got to say we've been talking about this World Cup for a long time. We've been super excited about it. I'm gonna, I'll be in Sri Lanka for most of it, if not all of it. Obviously, I was gonna say I don't know when Sri Lanka will get knocked out, but. And when I was there a few weeks ago, people were talking about it already, even though the Women's World Cup was going on at the same time. That as we get closer to it, excitement's going to build on the island. People are going to be buzzed about it. This is such a great opportunity, and I just feel at this stage it feels like we're taking our foot off the gas. I know World Cups do funny things. I know Sri Lanka is a team that traditionally we have done well in a World Cup, but I say that last few editions, that's not necessarily been the case. I still think it's possible that we can kind of turn it all around. But if someone was going to ask me how I generally feel about it, I've got to say, I think we're letting ourselves down here. I don't think we're...
You know what the best chance we have right now is? We get Kalana to make the prediction that we will come on to the finals, because if I'm not mistaken, when we lost the second match to Pakistan, after the entire conversation we had over here, right at the end, Kalana said, we are going to say all of this right now, but what if they win the next two matches and come to the finals? And we did.
But I also had a thought of losing the final as well. That's the issue.
There you go. So I think you're the one who needs to make that prediction that we would get there. We might actually.
No. I think you all are right, because I think it's too much up and down. I think in terms of the World Cup, what I would say again is we cannot have these games where we don't compete. It's not good for the World Cup. It's not good for Sri Lanka's brand as a top side. We can lose, but we have to compete and lose at least in the World Cup. We can't have these games where it's a flagship World Cup game and the second innings is just letting the opposition just canter to victory, right? Because we haven't put up a fighting performance in the first half. And that's not an acceptable way of going about things. And I think the team knows about it more than us. I mean, they should have better motivation and better plans, and hopefully they come up with a little bit more fight and execution next time around when we actually start the World Cup. Because from very external observers who haven't played like top level cricket are making these observations, such as me. So but they should know better, and hopefully they come out with a better performance.
So for me, the thing is, right, is kind of you when you go back to like let's say 10 years ago, right? 2015 was the last time Sri Lanka seriously turned up at a World Cup tournament and we had serious aspirations of thinking we could win it, right? And that was an ODI World Cup. And at that time, this would have been the kind of tri-series warm-up against Zimbabwe and Pakistan. We would have absolutely flown through. We wouldn't have probably not lost any games in there. There might be one close game against Pakistan in the final, one of the two games against them in the lead up to it. I don't want to be disrespectful to the other sides, but the reality is that our standards have slipped now, and that there is a serious risk. I think there's a real serious risk that Sri Lanka just slip out of that kind of top tier, and we don't even realise it. Because actually, you look in between the World Cups, how often are we playing T20 games against India? We play all the time because we've got a special relationship with them. But against Australia, against England, against South Africa, against New Zealand. How many times are we playing T20 games against the other teams we think are going to be in and around winning it? Even Pakistan, this is the first time we played them outside an Asia Cup in like 5 years or something, right? Outside major tournaments. I think we need to work. SLC need to work hard and getting more of those fixtures in place. I know England are arriving just for the World Cup, and then we're coming. Sri Lanka coming back to England in September next year to play white ball games against them. So that's good for us. But I mean, we've got a good group of players who as frustrated as we are today, I think Patton has the ability to be up there in the pantheon of real great Sri Lankan batters, right? We could be in 10 or 15 years' time talking about him the same way we talk about Aravinda, Mahela, Sangha. If he's given a path to get to that amount of
and
runs,
if he's protected.
Yeah, if he's protected and looked after, and also given an opportunity to go and play Test cricket in England, go play Tests in Australia. I know they've just announced a 2-match Test series in Australia at the end of in about 15 months' time, I think. So I know these opportunities are coming, but are we going to be set up for him to be able to achieve that and to do that? Yeah, I sometimes I just think Sri Lanka, it's gutting for me in some ways, because I just think you look at Sri Lanka, right, and there's what is Sri Lanka famous for around the world? Basically, it's famous for like a great place to go on holiday and a great cricket team, right? Even people who don't follow cricket at all know that Sri Lanka isn't a football place, it's a cricket place. And we've been so good at cricket for so long. Now there's other forces coming in, as there's a lot more money coming into things like T20 cricket in other parts of the world. And we are slowly, instead of being up there competing with the kind of other big 4 or 5 teams who win tournaments, we've slipped back to right, we're going to play, and I'm not knocking them at all, because I'd love for these teams. I'd love to see Zimbabwe win a T20 World Cup, but we are now in a situation where we are playing Zimbabwe, Bangladesh, Afghanistan almost on rotation, and while Bangladesh and Afghanistan have a lot of great cricketers, the reality is we're forced that full group of 4 teams people aren't expecting us to compete for tournaments at the moment, and we're never. I think our players aren't going to get better at shot selection if they aren't playing against the best bowlers in the world, and the best bowlers in the world, by the best bowling attacks in the world, most sophisticated T20 teams in the world, aren't those 4 sides at the moment. And we're not, like, it kind of feels like we're at the kind of bottom end of the Premier League, top of the Championship. And unless something really changes in the way that fixtures are doled out, and I'm not involved in, I don't know who sorts that out. Do you just pick up the phone to Australia and be like, do you guys want to come over next year? I don't know how that works. But we need to try and just get playing more better quality cricket. I think it's frustrating, isn't it?
You saw the recent series with India and South Africa, right? And they lost both the test matches. But one thing that I was more focused on was that controversial press conference that the coach had when he spoke about batting India out and frustrating them and putting them in
grovel.
For me, how I looked at it was their brutal approach. We had that brutal approach when Arjuna was the captain. We had that same approach when Mahela was captaining, Sangha was captaining, and when Matthew started up as well. They were hard captains. They were very hard captains, right? They were in the faces of the oppositions. They were not scared to speak up about it, and they were there. I have a feeling we have a few soft captains right now. Thereafter, Charit is a strong character, but Charit doesn't express himself as well. I think that's my opinion, and it also comes with the management as well, right? Do you have that support to be brutal? You don't need to put someone else down, but in the spirit of the game, you can be brutal, right? And that brutal attitude enabled them, for one, winning that Test championship, and that just that trophy made them come and beat India in India 2 tests in a row, and they humiliated. They just didn't just win. They humiliated India, right? That type of approach is missing right now. You don't see that with the team.
It's interesting you brought South Africa up, right? Because I think there's lots of parallels between their sporting culture in general and what could happen in Sri Lanka. I think the countries are quite similar. I've never been to South Africa. I'd love to go. There's a lot of great things I love that are in South Africa that I know and enjoy, like the food and the sport. But do you remember a few years ago when they were setting up the SA20 and they opted out of going to Australia, and people were like, "You've lost ODI points from the table and whatever, and you're at risk of not qualifying for World Cup." And they basically had this big reset. And now they've kind of come out of it, and their test team is flying. Both their white ball teams are flying. Their league, I'd say, is probably the second best franchise league outside the IPL. It's the most entertaining. It's got some great players in it. They've got really stable ownership in it. And then you look at where Sri Lanka are at, where we haven't had any of that kind of hard reset. And we, our test side is good at home, but like we all know, in the next 5 or 6 years, there's going to be a lot of players retire, and that's when I think the worries will start to happen for all of us. That's when the heartache will really kick in. And we've been trying to build a white ball team for essentially since for the last decade,
11 years.
I don't think this team that we saw out today would convincingly beat the worst Sri Lanka T20 side, which we all kind of claim was in 2017, right?
2017, yes.
But the frustrating thing for us is we know that we're still producing lots of talented players. Maybe. Sorry, what was that?
I said a ton of talented players in the pool. Let's take the 6 who played and won the Hong Kong Sixers last year.
Yeah.
Where are those hitters? I haven't seen any of them given one match. And they were hitting the ball out of the park with a distance.
I think that, for me, the wider issue is the people who run Sri Lankan cricket are doing the right thing that they should be doing 5 years ago, or even in some cases like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we should have reset the first class structure. That got reset almost a year ago now. But that's going to take 5 or 6 years to cut through, right? Once that reshuffles itself and sorts itself out, we're not going to see the fruits of that on the national side probably for a decade, right? Hitting coach. Sri Lanka's hitting problems have been there since basically Mahela and Sangha retired, right? Because they were wily enough players to in those kind of middle overs to be able to they were as good as anyone else in the world, basically.
Even then we were not known for our hitting, right?
No. We were just good.
Mahela was known as one of the best T20 batsmen who was a craftsman. And no hitters. And when the IPL started employing power hitting coaches, everyone else started getting on the bandwagon, right? All the countries started getting into that. Probably around 8 years ago, 9 years ago, probably. And we just got in our first full-time power hitting coach last month. First time.
Absolutely wild. What I'd like to see really is if I was a billionaire, after buying a club in Belgium to put loads of young Sri Lankan footballers in, the next thing I'd do is I'd set up a T20 schools tournament for Sri Lanka. There'd be a big prize at the end of it to really incentivize the schools to get involved in it. And then I reckon set that up within 6 or 7 years, each school will be producing a number of power hitters. And suddenly we'll see the strike rates in all kind of T20 domestic cricket creep up. I don't believe that is something you can teach players 3 months before a World Cup. I think you might as well give it a go because you've got no other option at this point. But it's long term; it's not going to solve any of our issues, right? If you look at someone like Jaiswal plays T20 cricket, it is just totally unorthodox to the way I'm going to say me, because I sadly I'm too old to have been coached in a kind of T20 era, but the way I would have been taught to play cricket, right? But if like, and I'm pretty sure the way if you went to a lot of clubs in Sri Lanka, kids are being coached to play cricket and hit the ball, right? Sri Lankan cricket has thrived off the back of kind of incredible talents who have emerged almost against the system, because the system wants to create orthodoxy, right? But
Yes.
and actually, when one of these, we're so reliant on it that still our game plan is basically hope that you create a Malinga, hope that you create a Murali and get them in the team and hope they can win you games. That's essentially the same plan that we have now. The plan is that Hope Patton wins us the game with the bat, and the kind of, there's 2 or 3 players around him that kind of can support him a bit at the top, or hope one he gets, has a hot streak and gets 3 wickets in an over. These are not real plans that are going to get us to win tournaments, right?
Yeah.
I think.
go on, Kulinu.
Sorry, I just wanted to get back to the short term as well. Your previous point on the fixtures, right? Yes, I would also like for us to play more top teams, but it's a chicken and egg kind of situation, right? Because we have to show that we can brush aside, I don't know, no disrespect to Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Zimbabwe, as you said. We should be beating them consistently. We are not. We are using the same type of players, same type of conditions, even the opposition, the same kind of players and conditions. But we don't seem to be able to put learning into practice and beat them consistently. If we are, even Pakistan, they are a struggling Pakistan. Like you said, Afridi is not in form, Babar Azam is not in form, Rizwan is not in the team. So if we are beating these teams who we are playing consistently on a regular basis, then we can claim saying like let's have a go at some of the better teams. But we are not doing that, because we beat, for example, Bangladesh convincingly in the group stages of the Asia Cup, and then the Super Fours we turn around completely. Zimbabwe couple of times got out against below 100, but then again at the next game we beat them, the same players. So that's where I think we have to beat these teams that we are playing consistently to start with.
So
Strategy is
for me,
another
that
issue,
comes down to
right?
standards, right? Like Sri Lanka have regressed to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe haven't grown to Sri Lanka, right? I'd be frustrated if I was a Zimbabwe fan. I'd be like, why the hell are we getting as bad as these guys are getting, or only getting as good as these guys have got?
But have
Sorry,
you noticed something, that whatever team that we play, just to add to Harindu's comment, just to add to that, that if you sit and watch the last 5 to 10 games that we played against each country, the strategy has not changed. Do we start with a spinner and a fast bowler? Do we go with the 2 paces? What is our line and length? Are we still sticking to the same strategies? I mean, my thing is, as much as you learned and studied this strategy, you also should know that your opposing team has figured that strategy out and they are going to play accordingly. So, how are you going to adjust your game is something that I don't see.
The other, like, I think bowling plans are quite interesting, right? Because I just do not believe Sri Lanka have bowling plans for opposition batters. Or if they do, we are like, the bowlers are either getting to the crease and forgetting what they were being told, or we are just executing them really badly. The other reason I think that that's got to be true is because the idea that you pull Veerskanth across the ocean to come and play this game, and then arrives, and then within like a few hours he's playing, tells me that they haven't thought, like, there's just, unless they've sent him WhatsApps with like, right, when you're bowling to Simon Aliaga, this is how you've got to bowl, this is where we think his weakness is, then how can he possibly be being told that? Like, where is that happening? This whole idea, like, there's a kind of Bravismo, so it's like, oh, Sri Lankan players don't need rest; they can just get off a flight and play a game within a few hours, and not just turn up and be in the 11, but they'll win you the match as well. And I'm like, that's not like who's benefiting from this? Like we've got to kind of value ourselves, value our team. If I was in the coaching setup, I'd be like, guys, we've got to value ourselves that we can get these are 11 players to be able to beat this side. Like that is the puzzle. I don't think we're thinking about these things. I think everyone else in the world is thinking about these things and has moved on, and we are just turning up and being like, we're great hosts. Come to Sri Lanka and find your form. Come to Sri Lanka, take all your wickets. But we are not pushing back. I agree with Lee Kilanu. I don't know
agree
why.
with you, and I know that is the case.
Yeah.
It's global strategies, not individual strategies. In the sense, okay, this is how we can get, for example, Babar Azam out, and each bowler has to figure out their way of doing it. But did you get the chance to watch this series on Prime, the Test?
Yeah, I love it.
Did you see the strategy sessions that were going on? How bowlers put their hands up and say, "No, I'm going to take care of this guy. You worry about the rest."
I mean, I would like a camera. Sorry to cut you off. Sorry, I would like a camera in our strategy room to see what actually happens. You know, because we have no idea. We are speculating.
So I think that they're probably like, I think players are like, one, he's probably going, I can get this guy out, I can get that guy out. But I think what we're kind of like, what appears to be missing is somebody going, right, when you bowl to Simon Aliaga, I don't know, right? I'm just saying, it's like if you go wide Yorker, he'll either not do anything or he'll swing and you'll catch him, right? I don't think that piece is coming in. I think it's too much responsibility upon the individual bowler. Just going, I can get him out. I played PSL and I always got his wicket. Or, I played PSL. I always Shaheen Afridi has never got me out. His overs are fine. Don't worry, I'll deal with it. I think that kind of thing is coming in where there's no as you say, it's a very global mentality. Where
there's no structure to it.
Yeah, actually, since the PSL, he's developed this other ball. And that's what he's picking up wickets with. We've seen him. He's not picked up any wickets the last 3 months, or this was the way he was getting wickets. We've noticed in the last few weeks he's getting doing this, and he's also he's not bowled this ball for months. So either he's going to bring it back or don't worry about it. Like, it's that kind of granular level, which you see in the test, right? And you can watch the test and then try and put yourself into that room and be like, this is you'd be like, you can totally overwhelm a player, right? Each player, you need to figure out how you're going to be able to communicate with them and what you're going to be able to give them. But you can also you can win or lose definitely the longer formats in those rooms, right? I think you could definitely. Why Sri Lanka keep losing? Do you remember the Test series against South Africa last year, where it was like, if we'd won it, we had a chance to get to the final.
The finals, yes.
We went there. We were all buzzed for it. We all thought, this is it. We're coming. We had I felt we had a really good chance of winning it. And then left arm seam. It was like our batters had never faced anyone who'd thrown a ball in at any sort of pace left-handed, right? The first innings, they go through us with it. The second innings isn't quite as bad. By the time we played them the fourth time round, we kind of figured it out. The thing is, though, they could have just figured that out, that this is probably something they were going to do, and just had Dilshan Manishankar steaming in and doing exactly the same thing as us in the nets, and worked out how to face it, or just got the bowler machine to come from that angle and try to figure out, get prepared for it. But we're doing it on the hoof. And you can tell me about all the coaches we've got. You can tell me about all the preparation they're doing. But I just believe it's way too easy to surprise Sri Lanka with something that is totally predictable.
Yeah, but Mark, to be also a bit fair on the guys, Marco Jansen right now is on a different planet.
Yeah,
he's on a different planet altogether. He's becoming like the McGrath who can repeatedly keep hitting the ball just on that same spot. and he's been doing that quite good, and he can get the ball to pick up from a good length as well.
I got to agree with you, right? Marco Jansen's unbelievable, right, at the moment. And I think actually when he retires from his career, he should come to Sri Lanka and thank our SLC, maybe go and give a wreath or bring some flowers to the headquarters, because I think it all started from him when we turned up, right? That was liftoff, right? That's where cricketers come to launch themselves. Guys, should we leave it there for today? Because we've been rabbiting on for ages. I said a couple after one of the losses last week. I was like, we could just take this show and replay it after the next loss. We could just take this game and we could just replay it after the next loss. I think the plan is, there's some questions came up in the comments about the women's side, because the women's team will be going on tour to India this December, which is exciting for them. There's been a vacancy that's been put up for a new head coach for them as well, which is interesting. So there's a lot to discuss around what's going on with the Sri Lanka women's side. We'll be talking about that, and we'll be talking about all the fallout from this series. I wonder what happens with Sri Lanka now. I wonder what they do. There's loads of questions about the captaincy. I think there's question. Sri Lankan cricket's crazy, right? 10 weeks is a long time not to be playing cricket. The craziest things in Sri Lankan cricket happen when we're not playing. So with a home World Cup, I'd say, like, keep close to the Murali End socials, keep close to SLC socials, because absolutely anything can happen. And Murali End's going to be with you every step of the way. We'll see you guys. I think we'll try and do a show on Monday. See you then. Bye.
See you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
It's the Murali End, you're the place to be. Analyze the players and the team. Keep a great company in the stream. It's a Murali End. Welcome to the show. We're here when you're high. We're here when you're low. Some days you're happy, some days you wanna when happy it's we, when mad it's them. It's a safe place, Murali End. Sri Lanka cricket we go represent. So tell a friend.